you like me to lead off?
You go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this afternoon. This afternoon, US Secretary of Defence Chuck Hagel and I have conducted some bilateral discussions, and we've had a roundtable discussion with some strategic commentators in Australia. Can I say this is the fourth time we've met. I'm very pleased that Secretary Hagel is here in Australia. I'm delighted to welcome him. I'm hoping he's having a good time, and we have got AUSMIN tomorrow with our counterparts Secretary Kerry and Foreign Minister Bishop. As you know, we have a force posture review running out of Darwin, where we have some 1,200 Marines exercising in Australia with Australian troops. Our relationship is strong, our friendship is strong, we share common values, and today is just a small part of us dealing with a whole host of issues that are important to both of us, both in our region and further afield. I'm going to hand over to Secretary Hagel now to say a few more words.
Minister Johnston, thank you. And I, too, very much appreciate the opportunity to renew our friendship and be together again. And I'm particularly pleased to be back in Australia. Being here in Australia is a personal privilege for me. This is the first time I have been back to Australia since I've been Secretary of Defense. But the personal resonance of this country and being here is meaningful to me because my father was here during World War II when he served in the South Pacific and spent some time in Australia. And my first awareness of this country was as a young boy when he talked about what he saw in the South Pacific, in particular what he thought of Australia and the Australian people. And he was quite enamored with this country and its people. I came first to Australia in 1968. I took an R&R from Vietnam, and matter of fact, celebrated my 22nd birthday here in Australia. And I asked the other day if the Chevron Hilton Hotel was still here. But it has gone, I think, as a result of a number of high-rise apartments and other new modern versions of progress. But that hotel was a significant hotel for many reasons, but it sat right on the water, on the hill, overlooking the almost complete and new Opera Center. And that was my first look at the Opera Center. I have been back to Australia many times since as a United States Senator and as a businessman, and I've always been grateful in all those capacities for this long, enduring friendship and very strong partnership. I think after this event, we will, Dave Johnston and I will go over to the Anzac Memorial, lay a wreath, which I appreciate that personal privilege of being allowed to do that. And I also want to extend my personal condolences to the people of Australia for the great tragedy that occurred in the Ukraine. I have noted that in conversations I've had with the Foreign Minister as well as Minister Johnston. But since I am here, I particularly wanted to say that and tell the people of Australia that Americans' prayers are with you, our thoughts are with you. I know this is a very difficult time for your country and the people of Australia. I had an opportunity to host Prime Minister Abbott at the Pentagon when he was in Washington recently, meeting with President Obama. And as you all know, that's where they announced the U.S.-Australia Force Posture Agreement. and Minister Johnston and I will join Minister Bishop and Secretary Kerry tomorrow in signing that document, which certainly for the United States is an important document. And I think it represents another milestone in our relationship. It's important also, that document, to emphasizing and supporting America's rebalance to the Asia Pacific and doing what we can to assure our own interest as well as the interests of Australia and other nations in the Asia Pacific to sustain a peaceful and stable order throughout Asia Pacific. I think when you look at the framework of that agreement, it allows us many things, and I think the rotational presence, for example, of U.S. Marines in Darwin and American airmen in Northern Australia is a good example of what the FPA will allow us to do as we work more closely together and cooperate more closely and coordinate more closely in new ways and strengthen some of the older ways we have been able to cooperate over the years. It will expand our regional cooperation here in the Asia Pacific, from engagement with ASEAN to the trilateral cooperation that we have been working on with Japan, which is an important relationship. We have our own bilateral relationships with Japan, but this enhances and broadens that bilateral relationship we each have with Japan into a trilateral relationship. The FPA's long-term commitment provides a solid foundation for our joint capacity building, which we can do more of. Our humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, which we have done together for many years, and I think other areas that provide us some opportunities for new initiatives. On our agenda today, which we have had an opportunity to meet for an hour, and just the two of us and our teams, prior to what David noted, the roundtable with a number of scholars and experienced former government officials, which was very valuable to me because it gave me an opportunity to listen, to learn more, not just of Australia's interests, but opinions and their thoughts about our role in this area and our role, the United States role, as it develops its relationship with Australia in focusing on our common interests. In addition to those meetings this afternoon, we'll have a dinner tonight, which will formally kick off our meeting tomorrow, and we will address a number of issues tomorrow, specific issues. They will focus on maritime security, special forces, missile defense, and Afghanistan. We'll be discussing, of course, the situation in Ukraine, including Australia's, again, its terrible loss in the MH17 tragedy. This gives us tomorrow an opportunity to advance some of each other's thinking in these areas, and gives us an opportunity to explore more ways, better ways we can cooperate, not just in the areas I mentioned, but in areas that we will have opportunities to go into some detail with when we sit down and talk. We'll also be conferring on the threat posed by ISIL in Iraq and America's appreciation to Australia, in particular for Australia's offer to assist in humanitarian relief operations there. I also want to note that when I mentioned Afghanistan, we very much appreciate Australia's continued support and efforts there as well. So I am looking forward to this meeting tomorrow. Always look forward to coming to Australia and being in Australia and doing what I can as the Secretary of Defense to continue to strengthen and widen and broaden our friendship and our partnership. So thank you.